Valhalla Delay. Keywords. The pole shift has been delayed, and it is attempting stabilization. Can humans stop a pole shift? Do we have that kind of technology? The short answer is yes. And the long answer that you're about to receive, the details and the implications of it, will astound you. Breaking news that you will guaranteed only get here. So, once again, God has provided me with the evidence that I actually need to show you so that you can believe who we are. Okay? Now, stick with me because this is going to be huge, I promise. But I know you well. I understand you're from the show me state. All y'all want to see some kind of evidence, some kind of proof of what I've been talking about who we are, whether that's so that you can believe it or just so that you can understand it better before you go trying your own hand at it. I get it. I totally get it. And even though I get it, sometimes I do get frustrated about it. And I feel like maybe it's going to be too late, you know? Maybe I didn't start soon enough at trying to get this message out there to you. Whatever, I'm human. I get in my own head sometimes. And then I get out of it and I get back to work. Um, so before I go into all of the awesome proof that I have, uh, first I need to address a few current affairs, right? Current events that are going on. Whether most of you realize it or not, we're actually in a multi-star solar system. And we are now at that 36, or excuse me, 26, is it 26? It's 36, 3,600 year. I got all my numbers in my head going crazy. 3,600 year cycle mark for the events like Noah's flood, Atlantis, and things like that have happened every 3,600 years in our history. We're at that point. All of our ancients built their sacred temples and their monolithic sites to mark this astronomical event, to watch for this event. They had a short count, a lot of them, the Mayans mainly, had a short count and a long count calendar. One of them did the shorter count cycles, and the longer one obviously did the longer count cycles, because we're also culminating at the end of the 26,000 year cycle as well. And we're right smack dab in the middle of a 7-year jubilee and all kinds of other cycles are ending in the very center of our 7-year Jubilee period, you know, if you pay attention to all of that. And um, many of you who have seen my stuff that I've put out, you know that I don't go with any one specific religion. I'm not against any one specific religion. Um, we all have our own path. We all have our own beliefs. And what I am asking you to be willing to be open enough to learn is not something that requires you to change your religious beliefs or your daily habits or really anything in your life. It doesn't change anything in your life uh, to welcome this information into it. And that's because it's simply about understanding the self from that spiritual soul aspect. And every religion believes in a soul. Every religion believes in a creator, um, as do I. And he's absolutely the smartest being I know. Absolutely. So anyway, with all that being said, um, we're in this multi-star solar system. We're at the end of a 3,600 year cycle. We're at the end of a 26,000 year cycle. Uh, there are many astrophysicists in our modern day, among other professions of research, who are watching for this because they, just like the ancients, know that we're in the system. And so they've been watching, um, astrophysicists, geologists, volcanists, the oceanic um, professors and scientists, the people that study the magnetic anomalies, all of those experts are paying attention right now and have been for years, um, and looking at all of the data, including the militaries around the world, our governments, the Pentagon, Pope, um, all of the bigger churches, really, uh, or the organizations, and even individuals of all types are all looking at this data. They're not telling you what this data is, um, for very understandable reasons. Because if you only knew that part of the story, it causes fear and panic. And nobody wants that. Nobody, no organization, no government wants that for you. And I don't either. So, there's certain things that basically the public could not handle if they don't have like the whole story. Um, I can provide you with the rest of that story, is why I feel comfortable in speaking about it, because this is not a doomsday story. This is not an end time story. This is a beautiful transition story. And I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But so we're at the end of these mini cycles. But that 26,000 year cycle, what that one means for us, lucky for us, that one's the big one that makes all of this so beautiful. You see, our ancestors weren't always so fortunate when these celestial bodies would come into our inner solar system. They didn't have all of the tools, and they didn't have all of the story that was needed to be successful in it. But because we're at the end of the 26,000 year cycle, you're going to have those tools. And so will our planet. Because this is a culmination of ending karmic debt. You know, the way that I teach all of you that um, at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023 was officially um, cleaning the slate of karmic debt ancestrally, not just for yourself, but for all of your lineage, all of your bloodline. It clears the karmic debt. This is a death and a rebirth process, you know, like the Phoenix Rising, or much like, you know, Jesus and the crucifixion and the resurrection, that kind of symbology. This is where we, you know, were once the caterpillar and thought it was over, but we get to come out of the cocoon being the butterfly, okay? Because this is an evolutionary period for the planet, for all planets in the solar system, for all planets in the entire galaxy, actually, in the entire Milky Way galaxy is doing the upgrade. And there's evidence out there of this if you want to go and research it, if you think that I'm just full of crap, because there is intense light and sound vibration coming from our center of our Milky Way galaxy and our black hole right now. And it's reverbing out across the entire galaxy into all of the solar systems because all of these things are culminating at once. And even for us, just here on our little planet Earth, in our solar system, Einstein wrote about this decades ago and said that when we enter the dark rift of the Milky Way, where all of the dark matter is, the spooky matter that they can't understand what controls it, this is when we get our upgrade. Our planet gets upgraded, we get upgraded, the animals get upgraded, the trees, everything gets an upgrade, right? So lucky for us, we're in the upgrade period of evolution at this particular juncture of this celestial system coming into our inner system where we are, because it's on a 3,600 year orbit. And so, yes, it is what people would call Nibiru or Marduk or Nemesis or Wormwood or Planet X or whatever. You know, it's got a ton of names and it all describes the same thing, all the way down to the feathered serpent god that the Mayans talked about and built the whole, you know, astrological temple to watch for and mark his coming. The description of him is exactly the same as like the Native Americans describe Nemesis or Nibiru coming, our dwarf star and its little solar system that follows it, of like about 7 planets and several moons, asteroids and comets and stuff. They called it by the blue and the red star Kachina, you know, and it's all the same story. It's all the same culprit, if you will, right? But where was I in my point here? I kind of got off track a little bit. Right. All of this is coming about, and we're lucky for us, we're at the upgrade point to where, like Einstein says, your right and left hemispheres of your brain are going to force merge, and you're going to truly know that you're psychic. The earth is getting an upgrade, much like we are. And she, too, gets to wipe her karmic debt clean and not have to suffer anymore and have clearer boundaries and not accept being mistreated, you know, demand respect and love the way she knows she deserves it. Just like I teach you when I'm telling you about what true self-love and clear boundaries mean for you as a person, as a soul. Well, if you look at the planet as a soul, she has those same things going on within herself at this time. Things in her are changing, and she's had enough, just like all of us. And it's a cycle that's coming to an end. It's perfectly natural, and we can embrace it or we can fear it. But if you have the whole story, then there's truly nothing to fear. You know, what I'm going to tell you is quite amazing, and to some may seem impossible, and others it may seem miraculous. And it's not limited. Either way you're looking at it, any way you're looking at it, it isn't limited to just what I'm going to share with you. It can be much, much more, and needs to be um, more in order to completely ensure a safe and healthy transformation for all of us. Okay. But my point here is that because we are all in this upgrade period, it gives us the opportunity, it allows us this time or opportunity to not only survive the inbound second system that most of us have never been aware of, but to actually flourish because of it. Because Earth is changing and we are changing, but we're upgrading in our strength, we're upgrading in our vibration, we're upgrading in our abilities, literally everything, you know? And we've had a lot going on. We've had volcanoes erupting. We've got this freak weather everywhere. The sun just blew a big chunk of itself off and created this insane polar vortex that was going 60 miles per second and whipped a huge lasso around its entire self in about 8 hours time. We've got some insane things going on, right? Turkey and Syria both having massive earthquakes and then massive aftershocks, which interestingly enough, we're at the end of a 3,600-year cycle, and the distance between the earthquakes in Syria and Turkey was 360. So I found that very interesting. I'm sure it has something to do with all of this. But excuse me, the edges of our African continental plate are breaking. There's several other plate boundaries that are starting to break. There is a particular S bend in one of the plate boundaries that we've been keeping a close eye on. I think that's the one that's in Austria, if I remember correct. Austria area, Australia. Oh my God, I've looked at so much data lately now I can't even keep it all straight unless I make a note. But you know, several areas are likely to be affected by all of these changes that are going on. The Java Islands, Indonesia, the Virgin Islands, Sumatra, Guam, Solomon Island, Christchurch, New Guinea. All of these places are going to feel the effects of these plate boundaries moving and trying to break, or, you know, breaking. There's also magma that is moving at a fast pace right beneath the Earth's crust and going across the plate boundary lines, like the fault lines. It's going across them. And this is going to interfere with the fault lines, right? Agitate the fault lines. And you can track those by tracking the hot springs that are all over the place, you know, that are from like the dormant volcanoes and stuff. We have a multitude of those across the United States. And there's a particular spot going through several like northwestern states of like Illinois and Indiana and through there, Ohio. And it's going straight across the New Madrid fault line currently. And they're calling it a magnetic hotspot anomaly. that they're tracking and paying very close attention to right now. We've got the African anomaly that's a very weak magnetic spot um, in Earth, and it actually goes to the very depths of Earth's crust to the how could I explain it? Like to the very first layers of crust, right? Uh, paleo, I forget how you call it exactly, paleogenic crust or whatever that's called. There is a word for it. I just can't think of it right now. But it's like literally deep in there that this magnetic anomaly is affecting the planet. Like so much so that the satellites and airplanes can't fly over in that area. They have to like avoid it and go around it. And it's so large now that it's actually breaking into two separate magnetic dead spots. Okay. I mean, and there's one in North America as well that they're paying attention to. We have this huge rift that's expanding as well. Um, there's lots of things being really carefully monitored at this time. Um, New York, Pennsylvania, likely to see more quakes because they're on the Madrid, well, New York is on the Madrid fault line that goes into the New Madrid that comes then down from north to south through north to south and a little bit east through the United States. Uh, and I've been marking X's all over my globe that I use for the kids for our homeschool, which my 6-year-old absolutely hates me marking up his globe. He thinks it's his. But I've been marking these X spots to really be able to get a 3D visual on all of the changes that are taking place with the hot spot anomalies, the magnetic dead zones, um, the all kinds of things, big like the big to do things. All right, probably too much for all of you to really want to understand that I'm tracking. Um, but we've also had like meteors over Glastonbury and over Arkansas and Texas, big green meteors that have been caught on surveillance cameras and stuff. But all these X's that I've marked on the globe, back to that real quick, I forgot to mention that they're all making isosceles triangles. Everywhere that I'm doing these marks, it's making these isosceles triangles. Well, anybody that knows anything about energy and scalar waves and geometry, sacred geometry, understands that the pyramidal triangle is the most optimal energy, stronger energy. The isosceles shows weak points or an angle or a slant where the energy isn't as concentrated. So this makes sense to me that they're actually, to me, it makes sense that they're making these isosceles triangles instead of nice, neat triangles like other patterns would have done before when you mark an X on them and look at them. This shows a huge amount of the Earth's magnetic field's power being weakened, is my point. And then there's like this huge X pattern also that happens across the globe with all of the points where they match up. And, you know, X marks the spot. And what is the spot? That's the core of the Earth. Well, what we've just had this whole thing last week with them talking about how the Earth's core had slowed down or stopped, and they believed that it was trying to go in the reverse direction now. But all of this magma underneath of the crust and all of this volcanic activity or earthquake activity, and even the core itself, the core's movement, even magnetic north, to watch magnetic north. These are magnets. Magnets will follow the strongest pull or the strongest attraction that's near them, right? So like you could have two objects and one of them doesn't have as strong of a pull as the other, but if this object is closer, then its pull would be greater. Okay, and that's kind of what's going on with the whole um, multi-system, multi-solar system that's going on with us, because it's close enough now that it's interfering with our magnetics of our planet and us as well. Um, this is why people have been feeling anxious and their emotions are all over the place. And, you know, um, much like the TVs and the satellite and the internet stuff doesn't work well when we get the solar flares, because again, the solar flare, that's magnetics from the earth and the sun interacting with each other. Um, so, I mean, it affects us too, just on a more subtle level. We may not notice it as easily as, the internet not loading the page or whatever, right? But it's affecting all of us. And I actually was going to do this huge presentation on showing you all of those facts about everything that's being changed and um, transforming around the planet. But I elected not to do that because I don't want to try to instill fear in anyone. There's no need for fear if you know thyself. And I have proof of that. Bear with me, please, because I have so much great proof of that. But we've had all this activity going on, and the booms and the rumbles and the shakes and the whole deal, all kinds of things going on. Um, and this isn't even just synonymous to our country, or excuse me, our planet. All of the planets are being affected. The ones further out, they were affected before we were. Um, and interestingly enough, even Krakatoa has erupted, and that has not happened for a very long time. And it's very noteworthy for me because I know that Krakatoa erupted during Noah's flood era and the Atlantis um, epic as well. So I just want to reiterate for a moment that magnetic north is moving. It has been moving for hundreds of years. It's been moving, and we've known that. The past couple of years, it's been moving a little faster than last year. It's sped up a little more. And in December of 2022, it really picked up speed, and it got to where now it's moving at a trek of almost 6 miles per month, which is pretty significant when it was moving only about 30 to 36 miles in a whole year. And we thought that was fast, but now it's moving at about 6 miles a month. And then we had the whole thing with the core stopping, right? Um, and I just want to bring you back home for just a moment to most of you have some type of a foundation in uh, Bible teachings. And Jesus or God very clearly said during the times of Revelations that every island and mountain will be moved off its place. So we know that huge things happen in that particular time that's been written about, as well as historically, we know that big things have happened before in our past. And if you know anything about me and what I'm all about, then you also know that I have told you from day one that I've known from the time I was big enough to think and speak and articulate it that I came here for this event that would happen, that would begin to happen in my late 40s, that would become to be known as the Great Awakening. Hence the same word as revelations. Okay. Revelations are aha moments, those eye-opening, light bulb coming on moments. Okay. Essentially, that's what the Great Awakening is all about. All of the truths being unveiled, all of the truths, including the one that I, again, since I was a very small child, have always firmly stood on that I am a volunteer that is here to finish Jesus's message. What was Jesus's message? He wanted to send his 12 disciples out in 12 directions to do the same things he does and teach the people. Why would he want them to go in 12 directions and do the same thing he does unless he wanted all of us to learn this? Do you see? He had the 12 disciples follow him around and learn from him and watch him and witness him do all of these great works. And then he said, now you're going to disperse and you're going to spread out and you're going to do this too. And I think it was Luke. Can't remember for sure which one it was, but one of them said to him, but Lord, how do we go and do your great works if you aren't with us? He just still didn't get it. Just like everybody else. He didn't get it. And what did Jesus say to him? He said, you can go forth and do the same great works I do and more. And that's what I mean when I say to you that I have always, always known that I was here to finish Jesus's message, that message. And I can prove to you today in this episode exactly what that could entail. So we have this interesting quick movement of our magnetic North Pole, right? And I want to show you something fabulous that one of the really good researchers that I watch, get out of my way over there, thing, has discovered. Why does it say I'm in full screen? Okay. Did I do that right? All right, bear with me. I'm trying to get this right. Here we go. I got to do it like that. Okay. Now, let me scooch over here out of the way. Oh, look, I just turned into a cartoon character again. I don't know why that happens. If I could figure it out, I would fix it. All right. So, this is Maverick Star Reloaded is his YouTube name, but he is an actual bona fide scientist that has these trimag data things all over, literally all over the world that he collects data from. And this particular chart he's showing right now is a compilation in 10-year increments from, I think it's 1890 all the way up to 2020. And it shows the trend of the magnetic North Pole's migration in years versus miles. So the years are at the bottom and the miles are along the side. And as you can clearly see, we went up a little bit around 1920 to 1930. It kind of started to move off course. I mean, we're like really move where you could tell a significant difference, like in mileage, mile distance. And then, not too terribly bad. It takes till 1990 to move it about 500 miles. And then, it took another 20 years for it to move another 500 miles. And then in the last 10 years, it moved another 500 miles. And then this is current data where in just the last 3 years, it's already moved about 200 miles in just 3 years versus 10. Okay. So I want you to listen to what he has to say, because this is where you get into truly understanding the point of me making this video.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Oh my God.
So, as you can see, we have a different colour pin, and that's an indication that the magnetic North Pole is now tracking westerly. It is, as you can see, also migrated westerly by 1.08 miles. So the new latitude and longitude for the current position of the magnetic North Pole is as follows. The latitude is 82 degrees, 2 hours, 12 minutes, 67 seconds north, by 116 degrees, 13 hours, 6 minutes, 59 seconds east. It's got
Now I'm just going to back that up and let you listen to that again, since I was disturbing the screen, because I need you to really get the full scope of what I'm about to tell you.
So the new latitude and longitude for the current position of the magnetic North Pole is as follows. The latitude is 82 degrees, 2 hours, 12 minutes, 67 seconds north, by 116 degrees, 13 hours, 6 minutes, 59 seconds east. It's gone back, guys. We're truly in unprecedented times. You know, I have never known the magnetic
Did you hear that?
9 seconds east. It's gone back, guys. We're truly in unprecedented times. You know, I have never known the magnetic North Pole track backwards at any point in the last, say, I don't know, we've been monitoring it for 6 years, so it certainly hasn't done it in that point in time. And I've never seen it track backwards before, you know, in the history that I've been researching this, probably around about 12 years now. And even if you go back into, you know, the archived positions that NOAA has, which is where all the other pins, if I just zoom out, which is where all the other pins information came from, you'll see it's never done this before. So
Never.
what's going on is quite unusual, and we should be concerned about this.
So he's freaking out over it. And he's one of the guys that one of the scientists that I watch his work very closely. He's very good at paying attention to all of the volcanic activities and earthquakes and everything. I mean, he puts all of it together just the way that I do when I'm paying attention to all of these things. And in the past couple of months, since December, since magnetic north really started speeding up and racing toward Russia, where there's a huge magnetic energy field there that's drawing it over away from Canada. I've been really paying a lot more attention to this, and I've been kind of trying to talk about it without talking about it a whole lot, because I don't want to create any kind of fear, because it's not needed. It's really not needed. But so the closer we were getting to this really doing a lot of earth changes and stuff that's going on, you know, and the way that the sun is reacting and all of that. And today wasn't the first time the sun blew off a chunk of itself and did this polar vortex either. By the way, it did that about a week ago as well. It just didn't make any kind of news, but there were some people speaking of it, like Gina Marie Colvin, who has a YouTube channel. She noticed it, some others. But I decided to start taking a new twist on my traditional energy work. And that's another thing. A lot of you don't really understand what it means when I say that I am a light worker. You don't understand what that job entails, because there's lots of people in the world that are light workers of different sorts, but I'm one of the few true light workers. And I say few just because there's only about 10,000 of us, I would say. And compared to 8 billion people, that's, a drop in the bucket. But um, we understand the ley lines. We understand scalar waves. We understand energy manipulation. We understand true grounding of energy. Um, we understand who we are. And like we not only understand, but we utilize all 12 strands of the DNA instead of just the two or three that sometimes people can activate and turn on. Um, we use more than just the 10% or less of the brain for these particular jobs, if you will, that we do as light workers. And um, so it is a constant practice of mine to like firmly be that lighthouse and firmly be that beacon that is necessary for my particular dipole upon the planet, if you will. And so we traditionally do this work with respect to natural law and not interfering with natural processes uh, more than truly necessary. Um, we let everything kind of do its own thing and try not to interfere with that in a manipulative way, but only in a like a helpful way. And so, uh, let's say there's a hurricane coming, we would focus on uh, shielding and reducing the energy of the hurricane so that when it hits land, it's not as potent and powerful. Uh, some of them slip past us, some of them, not enough of us are collectively working on to prevent very unfortunate things to people from happening to people. And of course, if you don't have enough for beforehand knowledge that it's going to happen, um, then there's not really much you can do about it in the moment. But those are the kinds of things that we traditionally will do for the planet. That and also we um, focus in on Q zones and uh, help to stabilize the Q zones of the planet. And so a lot of people don't understand what that means, but I want to teach you so that you can further understand why this video that I just showed you is so significant and how all of it truly fits in to who you are. Okay. Um, the curriculum that I speak of often that I can use to teach you who you are so that you can truly know thyself would include learning these Q zones. But these Q zones are essentially the locations on the earth where a small portion of the earth's D12 shield of the Christos blueprint um, has been reset within the earth's planetary shields. It's been, reactivated, re-energized, repaired, whatever was necessary, and then maintained through maintenance. So and we can choose to work with only one, or we can choose to work with multiple or all of them. That is freely up to um, the light worker. There are no like rules and regulations as far as what you have to do to be a light worker. You just learn the knowledge and use it um, appropriately, and have a real love and a real desire to improve um, the earth's harmonics and stabilize it and benefit mankind. So that's what we do. And uh, during stellar activation cycles, the Q zones can then be like manually set by an individual or a group that run the D12 Maharata current through the planet in that particular dipole or Q zone. And this is done with sound frequency primarily, but also with focused light frequency, because light has its own vibration or sound, if you will. So what we basically do is we activate the tribal shield to draw in the Kundalini primal suffixes and run the tones or the psalms through the body and the feet into the Earth's planetary shields. After we run the master songs or psalms, which are the tones of the personal D12 Mahararic shield, then the personal soul song is created within the individual light worker. And then this in turn creates a back song, or like a replay, if you will, a transmission of frequency that runs through the Earth's planetary shields. And it's a set of healing frequencies that'll be sent back to the individual as well in response to activating your soul song within you, within the Earth's planetary shields. And this is actually how I came about getting the name Earth Song. This is how it was given to me, or why. Because my song was for the entire planet, and I wasn't limited to one position or one dipole or one Q zone. I wanted to cover the entire globe consistently, and I do it all at once, fluidly, all at once. It's not like I have to visit each spot. I now just fluidly do it worldwide at once, like a massive master multitasker. And that rhymes. I wasn't even trying. But anyway, this back song transmission, it's a frequency that goes through the Earth's planetary shields and then back to the sender and reverberates through you as well, repairing your DNA, healing your templates, balancing your frequencies with the Earth's. One set of Q zones can remain in place for a period of 3.5 to 5 years from doing it successfully one time. Though I don't ever leave mine to go that long. I actually do mine at least every 6 months. So, but Q zones are safe zones in areas on the planet that are protected from any kind of interdimensional interferences, and also to help stabilize the planet from outer celestial interference as well, to a certain extent. Because again, as I said, there aren't many of us doing it right now, and we do need more. So, help wanted if you want to apply. Should be read on the door. But they're used to amplify the effects of healing energy applications for the current, the individual conductor or dipole being. So, that makes you a more enhanced and heightened healer. You have stronger healing abilities, which is probably why I'm at the level now where when I'm trying to grab just universal power, I can knock out electric to 835 people on accident, which is very unfortunate for all of us. I had to be without electric too until they fixed the transformers. But It also can, these spots can also be used to charge your objects and substances with subharmonics of the D12 Christ frequency. And when used in the personal temporary Maharic seal, which is the first lesson that I offer everyone for free, and in every video that I do, it's in the description box. You can use this to charge your objects, charge your increase your substances with the subharmonics of this particular frequency. The Maharic seal is very important protection for meditational space, healing, getting clear, and being completely free from any type of interdimensional interferences while you're meditating or astral projecting or remote viewing, or whatever you're going to do with the ethereal realms, even for sleeping. Actually, if people feel like they're being attacked astrally or spiritually while they sleep, this is good protection for that as well. There's many benefits to the individual for knowing these particular codes and seals. The Q zones are keyed to the Earth's planetary Templar Q sites, the activation sites for Earth's 12 primary stargates. And they exist on regions of the Earth that correspond to the 12 primary stargates of the inner Earth as well. And so we work with inner Earth, and we work with outer Earth, and we work with beyond Earth shields as well. And they can all be used as connection portals to go to the portals of inner Earth territories to establish telepathic rapport with inner Earth guardian races. And also in cases of global crisis, they can be used as uncovered pickup points for like portal evacuation to inner Earth as well. But in light of what was going on and happening with our magnetic North Pole moving so quickly, and then everything else culminating around it that was taking place planetarily and celestially speaking, I've taken this process to a whole new level, a whole new step now, to where I use these points to go into the Earth's core and basically rein in the magnetics to slow down and hopefully reverse the pole's direction. I've repeatedly worked with the core, particularly for various reasons, but never so invasively as I have this past week. And to my knowledge, none of the other light workers are doing this. But that is not to say that they are not very well doing this very same thing that I'm doing at this moment, and that is essentially why it worked. And you see on that screen before you in that video that not only has magnetic north stopped moving toward Russia, but it has actually started going backwards. It was going to the east toward Russia. It's now moving west. And this is something that the scientists have never seen. They can't explain it. So that's why I said at the beginning of this video that this is breaking news that I guarantee nobody else is telling, because nobody else that I know of is speaking publicly about the kind of things that I and my kind of group of people know how to do. And you can do it too. And the whole reason I tell you is not to brag. I'm not a bragger at all. I'm telling you because you're from the show me state and you need to see the evidence in order to be empowered enough to know that we can all do something about this impending pole shift. We can all do something about this impending system that's coming nearer to ours to change life as we know it. we can help smooth out the waves of this storm. We can effectively change the outcome. But if you're not on board with this, then the inevitable is going to happen. And I'm not going to sweat it because I've done my work. I'll continue to do my work. And I will ride the wave until it settles and come out on the other end smelling like a rose because I know who I am. And I do not walk through any shadowy valley with fear ever. I walk in faith. I know who I am and I know who my creator is. And I know that he's magnificent and he made me magnificent and you magnificent so that we could be magnificent together and prevent cataclysm and destruction. We can prevent it all. And I think I even found evidence of perhaps in the 1800s when the Freemasons were good and strong in their earlier days before the illuminated ones infiltrated and took over, back in their heyday, if you will, where they were an uninfiltrated society. I'll just put it that way. I may have found evidence that they did the very same thing, or at least similar thing that I've done this past week themselves, because there is evidence on record of early 1800s of the magnetic pole had been moving at that time and reversed and went back a few steps and then stopped and didn't move for a little while and then began to move again. So I feel like some of the secret societies definitely knew what was up in that time. And I'll admit that, much like the way I was feeling about it, that, set my butt in gear and made me do what I did with the core work that I'd never tried before and was kind of like forbidden interference kind of stuff that I did. Because things were looking kind of bleak. I think that, perhaps they were looking at it the same way and they're like, we've got to do something because when you know more than other people do, that whole phrase that with great power comes great responsibility is very real to people like me. And I don't think there's a single one of us that would just sit back and just let this happen and just watch it unfold when we, have abilities and knowledge to do certain things and not do them. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't have it in us to do that, no matter what era we're from. The people with this knowledge are not going to not use it when it's really down to the wire and matters for everybody, you know? But honestly, um, this is why it's such a like poetically beautiful thing that I feel like God showed me this and led me to this video because I wasn't going to go look and see what this particular scientist was saying about anything uh, too terribly significantly until uh, I think one of his videos popped up like 3 days ago in my YouTube feed. And I glanced over it and I was like, oh, that says something about pole shifts. Maybe, maybe he's got something. And it wasn't that video. It was 7 days prior. And the interesting thing about all of this for me is that it was this past week then I did all that. Um, that would have been, I don't know, the end of January, early February. I don't know the dates exactly. My calendar's so tiny. I so need a big one. Um, but my phone is also, I don't know how many of you watch every one of my videos, but one of my recent videos, I was telling you about how my phone had moved up to 6 minutes ahead in time. And I was jokingly saying, it's like I'm 6 minutes in the future ahead of everybody else. Well, my phone is actually now 8 minutes ahead in the future. And I mean, essentially, when you're doing this kind of work, you sort of are altering time and space because if you're altering one, you're altering the other, right? So if you're doing something to alter space, you're doing something to alter time and vice versa. Um, there's actually, there was something I wrote somewhere about that was like another Mandela thing. But anyway, I feel like this is like almost like a Mandela thing, right? Where it says that it was 7 days ago that he made this video, but I mean, it wasn't, I don't know, maybe 3 days into what I was doing at that point, something like that. Um, I think there was something right here I wanted to show you too. So let me just real quick. Okay, this was the one that explains the 26,000 year spiritual cycle that I was looking for to show to you. So I'll just go ahead and play this real quick before I finish what else I was going to say.
End of a spiritual season. It's the end of a 26,000 year spiritual cycle. And so a lot of people are wrapping up a lot of things in this lifetime. And those who don't have anything else to wrap up in their own evolution, they've come back to be of service and help out everybody else. And what's happening at the end of this 26,000 years is that the Earth is moving up in vibration or frequency from the third dimension, or third density is a better term, through fourth density, which is where we are now, and then eventually into fifth density. Fifth density is a vibration of oneness and unconditional love. So this is a dramatic and radical and unprecedented shift in the Earth's vibration. And those of us who are in body now came to assist with the ascension process. So what does the ascension process consist of? Well, it's essentially a process of purification. What is happening is that a lot of divine light direct from source is flooding the planet. And this is having a profound impact on every life form on the planet and also within the planet and around the planet. The light has the effect of bringing to the surface everything unlike itself. In other words, everything of a lower vibration. The reason it does that is so that you can recognize these lower vibrational thought forms or feelings or whatever they might be, recognize them consciously, thank them for whatever they have taught you, bless them, and then release them to the universe or release them to source. That's essentially the process of letting go of something that is of a lower vibration. So for eons now, these lower vibrational thought forms and feelings and emotions, they've been largely subconscious, hidden from the awareness of the average person, but driving behavior in quite significant ways. And now all of this darkness is coming to the surface, and it's happening individually in every person's life. And it's also happening collectively to humanity as a whole, which I think is why you see all the craziness you see in the news these days. All the darkness is being brought to the surface by this influx of light. It's being brought to the surface so that we can recognize it, bless it, thank it, release it, let it go. And once it's gone, that allows our vibration to rise. It allows the planet's vibration to rise. And then we can complete the passage through fourth density and into fifth density. And we will get to a point, and I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't think anybody knows exactly when it will happen, But we will get to a point, as I understand it, where we return to a state of oneness consciousness in which we no longer perceive ourselves as separate beings. We have a direct perception of the fact that each one of us is actually a cell, what you could call a cell in the heart of God. Each one of us is a cell in one magnificent being that exists all throughout all the dimensions in all the universes. If the purification process, if all the light brings to your conscious awareness aspects of yourself that are of a lower vibration, which could be almost anything. It could be negative thought forms, anger, a lack of forgiveness, judgment, whatever it might be. If things like that are coming into your conscious awareness, then you want to engage with them in a skillful and loving way, which again means recognize it consciously, thank it, whatever it is, for whatever it has taught you, bless it, set an intention to release it to the universe. You can do that on your own, or if you need some assistance, there are many, many skilled healers in the world today who can help you energetically in a process like that. My understanding is that if you are going to stay in body on the physical planet Earth, then your vibration will have to rise right along with the vibration of the planet. And so if you stay here, you will return to a state of oneness consciousness. Now, if you transition back to the other side, you can still assist ascension from the other side. And a lot of beings feel that they can assist better from the other side than they can by staying in body. The beings who transition back to the other side, they may or may not be done with their third density experiences. If they are, they'll go on to something of a much higher vibration. If they're not done, then there are other opportunities to continue on other third density planets.
So, in other words, the people that aren't ready to wake up may very likely be the ones who move on somewhere else in these changing times. And I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to lie about any of it. Yeah, there are big changes coming, no doubt. And there could be people that we have to say goodbye to in various different ways. And that's always going to be uncomfortable and sad and hard in a lot of ways. And the pole shift itself could very well still happen. Can we make the binary star and its system not come past us? No. But we can certainly do other things to protect ourselves, like reinforcing the Q zones and steadying the core and stabilizing magnetic north and stabilizing our Earth's magnetic shields that are out in the magnetosphere. There are definitely things that we can do to prevent some things and simply reinforce others. So I do hope that you apply for this job. I really do. And I'm going to keep making more videos to teach you how to do just that. So it's really as simple as liking and subscribing so that you don't miss my updates and my teachings. Because I'm not going to give in to being done. I'm not ready to resolve that there's nothing left to do. There's always something more you can do. And I've proven that. And I don't have any evidence that anyone else helped me to do it. And I'm certainly not trying to take the complete credit for it myself, even, um, either way. I'm just saying that I tried to provide evidence to you for things that I do know for sure. And the only one thing I know for sure is that I was involved in this. I was involved in doing that. I don't know about anybody else. Hopefully, they'll start coming forward and speaking because I need you to see just how powerful we can be in numbers. Just like I needed you to see how powerful we can be on our own. I'm one little person, one little 5 foot, 3.5, 120-pound girl. We can all do this, guys. There's nothing more important or more special about me. Doesn't matter my background. You can learn this quickly. You can contribute to the whole of our planet immediately. So, yeah, I really hope that you apply for the job. And real quick, I'm just going to kind of go through some of the things that we fiddle with in the Q zones. So we have what's called an interdimensional topography. We have Q zones and Merkaba reversals, which are the Q zones are identified by the appearance or a fixed standing Merkaba field or several Merkaba fields that spin above, in, or partially in the ground in that location. Small Q sites are connected to small inner Earth portals, and Earth's primary 12 Templar Q sites are connected to the 12 inner Earth stargates and the crystal pylon templates of the Maharai Sirius B grid management system, management network. They check for the integrity of the Merkaba, move it to its center, relax, and sense its spin direction in relation to your own Christos Merkaba spin when you're in it. You check to see is the top of the site of the Merkaba spinning clockwise, or is it carrying a counterclockwise Nibirian reversal? And that's how we know if the binary system is actually affecting the portals or the people that inhabit some of those planets. We also check to see is the site's Merkaba axis fixed on a pure vertical, or is it wobbling around and changing its position? Compromised Q sites are being actively used for the non-Christ or non-Christos forces for various reasons. So they too know some of the same knowledge we have, and they tamper and fiddle. And so we have to go back and tamper and fiddle and set them straight from time to time. But you can clear them through a Tribal Shield Q zone activation, which is the second technique that I actually teach. It's what I call lesson 2. Your Christos Q sites have various uses, including running amplified healing energy and transit to inner Earth or Stargate points. And then we also have communication networks. They appear as intricate webs of light cords that span the geographical regions in, on, or above the ground, like massive networks of fiber optic cables, if you will. Many are from ancient times, both from Guardian Emerald Covenant races, and some are also from the fallen angelic races, intruders. The they are used to relay data from Earth to elsewhere or between various locations on Earth itself. Many ancient communications networks have been recently reactivated, especially those of the Anunnaki and the Draconian origin. The networks work as transmitters and receivers and are like crop circles, often used to orchestrate astric field implementations of electromagnetic programs that influence the body, mind, spirit system of humans and animals. Of course, when the Draconians and the Anunnaki or reptilians, however you want to say it, and the giants that look like people, when they use it, it's to create confusion and fear and chaos and illness and things like that. So they use it for nefarious reasons in the astral field, in the electromagnetic field that influences the mind, body, and spirit system of humans and animals. And it can be extremely dangerous. So we often have to reinforce and energize our Mahart seal when we are near them and avoid direct interaction with any of them until we've received further training or knowledge within the Templar communications specialization categories. The most powerful will appear as a spiraling fixed tower or towers of light, most often found at sacred sites and in churches and places of mass worship or gathering, like Stonehenge. This transmits its programs via a massive series of towers that are located in key regions, which I also know about and will teach eventually. And then there's the etheric crop circles. Yes, we work with crop circles. Yes, we are the cause of some of the formations of crop circles. They appear as geometrically formed designs of light that hang in the atmosphere or are embedded in objects or the ground, like physical crop circles themselves. And then there's also etheric crop circles that are used to program data directly into Earth's planetary shields for storage, regional or global Templar direction, carrying programs via the ley lines and the vortices, and to serve as landing coordinates for interdimensional spacecraft or wave riding crafts or vehicles, which is direct portal or Stargate transits via the Merkaba vehicle. This would be the clear orbs or luminescent orbs that people see sometimes, and some can be small and some can be fantastically large. And essentially that's what it is. They're traveling in their Merkaba vehicle. Some appear as landing strips that are made of woven light platforms or runways. Many uses and orientations for that. Will not cause harm if explored with an energized personal Mahart seal around you. And much like vortices, some etheric and physical crop circles can reveal huge amounts of technical and historical data. Open up Akashic record fields, if you will, as they hold all of the electromagnetic memory programs indefinitely. And they're fun to play with via projecting your consciousness into them to see what images, words, feelings, or impressions are revealed there. It's a great way to learn self and do a deeper level of self work or shadow work within oneself when you're exploring in that realm. So I really liked doing these a lot. To me, none of it felt like work. And I just want to remind you also that a lot of this may sound crazy to some people, but if you'll just go to like Google Earth and look at the north or south pole of Saturn or Jupiter, you will see that their south pole and their north pole have a sacred geometrical shape to them, that we would call the hexagon. And this is there for a reason, because all of these sacred geometric shapes create form, they create matter because of their particular vibration. And uh, so our planet has one as well, and this is also known as the toric field, or the vortice is at the center of that. The toric torus field vertical vortice is in the center of that geometric shape that's powering the engine of it, if you will, to create. And then we also have Templar crystals. And real quick, before I mention the crystals part, I just want to remind everyone, because I forgot to mention this earlier, the hot springs that are all across the planet are where the diamonds are. The diamonds are created through the hot springs, through the volcanic material. And what people don't understand about the creation of diamonds is that they are created by a very quick forced heat, which happens when the pole moves and the magma moves because of magnetic pull to move magnetic north. So that's actually when they're made. And that diamonds, much like crystals, are great record keepers. And so all of the data is actually within the diamonds and within the crystals. You know, all the data's been cataloged within the diamond. So I just interesting fun fact I wanted to add to that for everybody. Diamonds are more than just a girl's best friend, right? And personally, I like the ones that come out of meteors rather than the Earth. They're more fun. But Templar crystals, usually a minimum of 12 inches, a foot in diameter. Templar crystals appear as ghost images of quartz crystal points implanted in the planetary shields, usually on a vertical alignment. They can appear to be partly in the ground and partly sticking up out of the ground as well. Some are found deep within the earth, like deep within mountains or deep within rock formations, including ancient statues, pyramids, etc. Some are very large, the size of city buildings. Most are from 5 to 25 feet in height, with various diameters. Most exist in sets spread many miles apart. If they are active, you can trace the energy lines emanating out from them to the other Templar crystal implants, to which that they are connected to. They're used for major planetary shields programmings by both the Guardians and the Intruders. Active Templar crystals will emit programming by both Guardian and Intruder races as well. And they're very subtle but distinct tone vibrations that can be heard within the inner hearing if you know enough to look for the tones. Various purposes and uses for them can be fun to play with once you understand your D12 Maharata current that is within the body, is intentionally projected through them for the Christ clearing or the Christos clearing within your DNA. If the core of the Templar crystal appears to be dark, like black or dark red, or murky green or brown, it's to be avoided from direct exposure. Such coloring indicates an intentionally set disharmonic program from the present times or ancient days. And these can be harmful and require a group of us to work on to clear them, or a guardian helper, another person, at least one other person participating. So either one guardian or several. it's not advised to do them on our own. There are also posted guards. Most active grid areas, which are the vortices, the portals, the ley lines, and the Templar crystals, all have presences assigned to protecting their interests that are held on that site. Some are D2 elemental beings, others are avatars of both light and dark orientation, depending on who was the last ones there to set programming on them. And we would reinforce our Maharic seal before engaging with any type of communication within this area with the posted guards. And some you may not even see at all while you're there. So we really have to use all of our senses and feel for it all the way around. Kind of like walking in the dark with a blindfold on in an unfamiliar area. And sometimes there's others that remember you from past lifetimes, sometimes from this lifetime. And that can be a good thing or that can be a bad thing. Sometimes they are actively seeking to harm you, including like astral field implantation or attempted possession if you don't know how to be well protected and well shielded and not easily fooled. And so it's essential for people that are going to do that type of work, go visit the posted guards or be a posted guard to acquire a specific type of skill set in energy differentiation to where you can truly use your discernment to know the difference between the good guys and the bad guys, so to speak. There's what's called sealed Christos channeling and contact awareness that we use before engaging with any of the posted site guards and interdimensional or interplanetary communications as well. We also use it for that. And then there's also something called the trapped presence. And this is presences that are stuck between dimensions, the way that we refer to a ghost, but for various reasons and cannot or do not desire to free themselves and leave. Even the nicest ones may attempt to make their problems your problems. So you always have to be careful around any kind of ghost entities. So we use the same safety precautions and protocol that is needed for speaking to a posted guard to speak with ghosts or interact with ghosts. This is why I'm not a big fan of going to the big haunted houses that people buy tickets to go to anymore, because I realize the true dangers that are there that you put yourself in if you don't know how to be protected. You can certainly bring those things home with you. And then they do make their problems your problems. And this is what we would call a poltergeist activity. So we don't really, it's not an allowing thing. It's just, we don't recommend that people try to interact with the trapped presences, the ghosts, or the posted guards, if they haven't furthered their learning, their education into the interdimensional rescue strategies part of our knowledge. Because it's very important to remain safe at all times. And you have, so anytime you engage with an astral entity, an ethereal entity, you need to be properly protected. So we particularly will carefully observe and make note of their presence, but not attempt direct communication until we know exactly who or what we're dealing with. And if we don't know, then we don't even engage. We'll basically pretend like you're not there, pretty much. But this is exploration into a whole new uncharted vista of earthly reality that many people do not even know exists. And it truly creates this wonderment and amazement about the world at large around you when you learn these things. And really, the things that I'm talking about only represent a very small sampling of what's truly out there to discover. Um, so it really, in a lot of ways, doesn't even do it justice, you know. Um, oh, here's that note I wanted to speak on that was about another Mandela effect or time change type thing. It says that back around 2009, NASA had announced that Betelgeuse was getting ready to go supernova and it was going to get super bright and it would look like a second sun in the daytime sky and would burn so bright at night that it would look like the sun is burning in the night sky. And well, this never happened, right? It never came to pass and nobody ever said anything about it. And maybe a lot of people don't even remember that it was announced, but it was announced worldwide. It was on the world news. Sorry. But it was totally a Mandela effect thing because 4 weeks ago, NASA made the exact same announcement saying the same thing, that Betelgeuse just went supernova and that it's going to be so bright that we're going to see it in the night sky. And it's going to look like a distant sun in the night sky. I mean, come on. Does nobody see what's going on here? I think it was going to happen then, and some Mandela effect thing happened to prevent it. Or option B, the people that announced it thought it was going to happen sooner, show up on our doorstep sooner than it did. And then, when it didn't happen, they were just like, okay, put that story back in the file cabinet until we're going to need it, and we'll pull it out and use it again. That definitely could be their option too. It doesn't have to be a Mandela effect. Unless, of course, nobody but me remembers them announcing it back in 2009 or 2010 or whenever that was. But anyway, when I heard that 4 weeks ago was actually when I first started tinkering with the notion of going into doing the core work that I ended up doing. And, that my phone now says I'm 8 minutes ahead in time. I think that's significant. It's set on green mean-witch time, just like any other cell phone is. I can't change that time. I can't manually go in there and do anything to that. It's 8 minutes ahead. So anyway, that's what I've got for you. This is about an hour and a half long already. So I'm going to wrap it up. And in the next video, I'm going to cover some other cool crap that's not so cool crap that's going on in the world and current affairs and how it all truly does tie in to what I'm telling you about who you are, what I'm telling you about us being in a multi-star system, and how we can truly do something about all of it. I mean, we really can easily we can do everything we possibly want to do about it to fix it. We really can easily. Like, I can't say that enough. I can't stress that enough. It's not like you got to break a sweat, break a fingernail, give a flying, you know what? I mean, it's not hard work. It's easy work. It's easy to learn. It's easy to use. It's easy to do. It's easy work. It's powerful work, but it's not hard to do. The hardest thing about it is to have faith. The hardest thing about it is to have zero doubt. That's the hardest thing. Once you can get past that, the rest of it's easy because it's natural. It's your God-given right to do this. So every bit of it is easy to use and maneuver as soon as you decide to believe. So yeah, next week we'll go over some of the other stuff in current affairs that truly does tie into all of this and give you a really clear picture of just what in the world is really going on and who in the world you really are. And maybe we'll go over some of the songs and the true names of the 12 tribes. Maybe we'll do that too. That might be handy. So until then, be well and be blessed and be thankful for everything around you because it can all change in the blink of an eye. Love and light, guys.